talk to the boys I'm not supposed to, because the messages disappear, if I'm being completely honest. At least that way, nobody knows if I'm talking to them except for me and him.
What do you mean the boys you're not supposed to talk to?
Well, I am in a committed relationship with a man I love, and I really, really, really love him. But, you know, there's times where I've seen him snapping girls he's not supposed to, or being on Tinder on the 3rd page of his phone. So I'm like, you know, he tells me to move past it, we'll move past it, but I'm like, I'm going to do the same thing.
Well, I've seen some of the conversations people have on Tinder, and it's like, I'm a bold and brash man, but I'm not that bold.
It works for some people some of the time. They're just like, hey, want to see my dick? And they're like, yeah, of course, come over, you know?
Dick pics on Instagram. Gotten a lot of private DMs where people just show me their penis, and they're like, I would love to ride you. I'm like...
It's pretty fast, you know? It's like, people are trying to just hook up. I don't know, like in an hour in some cases.
An exchange of like 6 messages.
Like, I think women are just as justified and should do this if they so choose to use it in the same way.
That's true, and I agree with you completely, but the playing field has not been even, and it has really never been even.
It doesn't mean to be even. No one's like forcing anyone to do like
social
what they don't want to, you know?
It's social coercion.
So it's a grid, you scratch me till I bleed, that's what I need. Just take a man, go ahead, baby, and break the skin. At the point where the conversation always fails, I only want you to let me down to your bed of
Thanks for watching our internet edition of Nightline. There is a major breakthrough headed to American consumers. It's the iPhone, an iPod, a cell phone, and a portable internet, all in a little lightweight package. The announcement has set off a major stir, and it could change the way you live.
I am a child of the internet. I started going online at, you know, age 10.
My mom tells me that I started playing on the computer when I was 3, and I've basically been on it ever since.
I got my first phone when I was in 8th grade, and that completely influenced the way that I interacted with girls.
People get phones in middle school, so new start when you get a cell phone.
Well, I used to do like a video call, like on Skype or AIM, where it's just like both of us like masturbating.
I was 14 or 15 whenever Grindr came out, and I remember getting it and then lying about my age.
I think I got a Tinder like my senior year in high school.
I think I started one of those in high school. Like I was probably like 16.
I do remember when you used to call people on the phone. Like if you had a crush on someone, I think it was like 7th grade, 8th grade, just shoot the shit over the phone. And then you like hang up and you kind of feel like that warm, kind of fuzzy feeling. That probably doesn't happen anymore. I think if you called someone these days, you'd probably get labeled a psychopath.
So we've really seen 2 major transitions since the evolution of social monogamy, some 4 to 4.4 million years ago. The first major transition was the rise of the agricultural revolution, 10 to 15,000 years ago. And the second major transition, I think, has been the rise of the internet. And with the rise of the internet, we are in evolutionarily unprecedented waters. We are experiencing a time that people can engage with each other, and particularly around issues of romance and sex, in ways that are totally novel. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to activate ancient biological parts of our behavior as we use the internet and as we use technology to engage. But what it does suggest is that as a platform, it is totally novel. It is totally unprecedented.
If a girl is like very distinctly attractive, then that's a swipe right. If there are like 3 girls and some of them are moderately attractive, then you go through and see who's who. Usually what'll happen is I'll go through, and if I see a girl that I think is really attractive, swipe right. And if we match, then I go through and then I look at their profile. Because I don't know, you can't really send like a chat up line without anything to go off of. Let me show you. Because I don't know what this girl really looks like. She's got this kind of ambiguous profile.
She's 18?
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 22. They all blend together at some point. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Glad you made it.
Oh, sorry, traffic was super.
Yeah, it's bad time. Do you want coffee?
Sure.
Where do you work?
I work at an Italian restaurant.
Nice.
I'm a waitress. Yeah. Yeah, I had 3 dogs growing up, and
Wow.
a bunch of cats and chickens and cows and goats. 'Cause I lived on a farm.
Totally, yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Oh man, so whenever I'm in a new class and it's like, what's your fun fact? My fun fact is always that I'm related to Pocahontas.
What?
Yeah, that's an aside. And the other one is that I helped birth a goat on a farm once, and they named the goat after me.
That's very cool.
Tell me about your puppy.
Her name is Maya,
Nice.
named after Maya Angelou.
That's what I was gonna guess.
Yeah. So do you play any instruments or do any art or?
No, I think that this is gonna sound super pretentious and lame, but I think I'm like an artist. I just don't make a lot of art.
Yeah.
So I have to go meet my friends, but I really want to do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Hey, I'll text you. Thanks for meeting me.
Yeah, oh, thank you.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you
for sure.
soon.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Hey, dude, what are you doing? Like, have you guys had dates where you go and you like the conversation's good, but you know it's not going to go anywhere? It was kind of like that.
Yeah, it was like a friendly date.
Yeah, like you know that, like you're looking for an end to progress the conversation into something more like intimate or like sexual or something. It just never really happened.
I think you take Tinder a lot differently than other people, based on like the first interaction being at a coffee house instead of your house, or hey, meet me at this alley. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is indicative of a different intention, definitely. Because Eli, I think most of your Tinder dates, take place in the
real quick
in the home.
Yeah.
We evolved in the context of small groups, where, say, ranging from 50 to 150 individuals. In small group living with limited geographical mobility, you would have only encountered perhaps a few dozen potential mates in your entire lifetime. So what's weird is that we take this, small group mating psychology where the number of potential mates is very limited, and transplant it to the modern world where we have thousands and thousands of potential mates that we can keep swiping through, and it triggers this short-term mating psychology in a way that never would have been triggered ancestrally.
I have just a funny perspective on it because we used to be roommates, and really just the funny part was it was just out of the blue. There was never any discussion of it, but it'd just be a completely normal Tuesday night at 9 p.m. And there'd be a knock on the door, and I answered the door, and it would be a girl I'd never seen before, and you'd be like, "Oh, this is my friend. Here we go."
Yeah.
So it was very casual, and
I remember that. It was always all of September. Every single day, I'd be on Tinder, maybe like 10, 20 swipes a day. It's all the numbers game. So like once a week, pretty much on a Tuesday night, because I remember my Wednesday class always being so happy in that class.
I have always wanted to, have that like super cute romantic thing where like I'm at a bookstore and this really cute stranger like bumps into me and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And we have this like really sweet, simple exchange, and then we part ways and we come back together later. And I feel like that doesn't really happen anymore.
I think what's so refreshing about it is just that someone would put themselves out there in person. I think there's a vulnerability that people use social media to hide behind now and not have to do that in-person interaction where they can be rejected. And he did that with I think is so much more attractive.
It's also just like oddly flattering than as opposed to, because I had a Tinder for 2 days and I got like a lot of hits in that time, but it was people just being like, hey, what's up? You want to hang out tonight? And I'm like, I don't know who you are. You can't completely know a person when all you know of them is behind a screen.
Right.
Like, as much as you want to think that you know about them, you don't know their habits, you don't know like all those tiny little things.
And also the thing
nuances.
about that is you get to choose what you share.
I'm very aware of the sort of pressure and the need to like be manicured and like beautiful and have like a uniform Instagram feed that people will want to follow and pay attention to. I'm constantly haunted by FOMO. I can easily fall into rabbit holes where I'll spend hours just like scrolling through blogs that have these pictures of like beautiful, beautiful women that I'm never gonna be, and like these houses and these clothes and these vacations that I'm never gonna have. I don't have the greatest self-esteem, which is something I've been trying to work on, which is another reason why I've been trying to sort of like step back from spending so much time online.
Okay, swipe right. Okay, sexually provocative, showing breasts, cleavage, doing the duck lip shot. Because you see the picture, it tends to swamp all the other information. In the past, you did find out, you knew about the person's education, you spent some time with the person, so you found out about his personality. Is he emotionally stable? Is this person dependable? How intelligent are they? How worldly are they? And now, with the dating apps, physical appearance overwhelms all that other information and takes on a disproportionately large role, I think, in mating.
When we look at dating apps and we see the pictures that people are posting, the ways they're presenting themselves, what's very interesting is that the men tend to present themselves in very stereotypically male ways, as providers, as fishing, as hunting, as they're up on a mountain, or, you know, they're puffing their chests, they look like they're cut, they have these perfect bodies, whereas women tend to present themselves in more sexual ways. And this goes back to the basics. You know, the old Barbie and Ken culture.
Wait, one of the worst accounts of the guy's looking for the swole mates. Oh, I hate the swole mate fucking profile.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I love that. I love that.
And I just want to know, guys are out fishing and they're like, whoa, I just caught this big ass trout. Bro, will you take a photo of me with this fish? So
I really need it for my Tinder profile.
Yeah,
Can you just like help me out, bro? Yeah.
Breasts, friendliness, breasts and friendliness, you get the pucker.
Yeah, because sex sells. Sex always sells. Go back to anything ever, and sex always fucking sells. And I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I also hate the fact that, like, we live in this world now where everything and so much of what you are is so dependent on how you look. And, like, I hate... I'm getting really emotional about this. It's like, I hate... Sorry.
What's up, guys? Today I'm gonna be rating people on their hotness. We'll call it how hot. 7, fucking 10. Yeah, 8. Like a 5, 8.5.
Oh, that's like a bootlegger Ariana Grande. You're not.
For Corey, we got 9. For Madison Beer, we got 6.5.
Bro, what's heavier, her or the couch, bro?
Oh my god. Fucking 10. 10. That's one hot-looking girl.
So if there's an opportunity to see women as body parts or sexual objects instead of as whole human beings, that opportunity will be taken. And I would say that the whole setup, the whole structure, the whole architecture of dating apps that depend on split-second decisions of are you hot or not is one of the ways that is being exploited.
What was Face Smash, and is it still up and running?
No, Congressman. Face Smash was a prank website that I launched in college, in my dorm room.
Silicon Valley, you've got to understand that there's a lot of the companies are started by boys. They're not men, they're boys, right? And one of the reasons for that is because they all go to the same schools together, Stanford or Harvard or whatever it is, right? And they all live in the boys' dorms, and they sit around on their computers, nerding out, and they say, wouldn't it be cool if you had this thing where you could do this thing? And then something inevitably ends up becoming a company, and it's all the boys, the bros, that go and build these apps together and these sites together. And that's predominantly why it is the way it is.
We were looking for different areas that had disruption available, places that hadn't jumped into the mobile market so well. We were very focused on mobile first, mobile only, and we saw the dating market as one of those things.
The dating industry was extremely shunned upon in the young, hip, millennial college market.
If you looked at any of those other dating services, you would only really use them if you were, I don't want to say desperate, but almost desperate, right? The idea of a one-click sign-on, which was a natural outgrowth of mobile phones and social networks, was the idea that you can take context that already exists for a user. So their Facebook profile already exists. They can just plug that in. Their location is already being fed out by the GPS on their mobile phone. Their friend network's already mapped out by Facebook. And so it was a lot easier to just click a button. We know everything we need to know about you already, and we can start introducing you to the right people instantly. And it became so easy, it was like, why wouldn't you do it?
I wrote the original application, the iPhone application, and I also came up with the swipe.
The swipe mechanic really was the mechanic that worked for a mobile generation who had short attention spans, was always on their 3.5-inch screens. And yeah, I think it worked.
We have 1.5 billion swipes a day, and I know a long time ago in the early days, I think I had figured out if the average swipe or something was, I don't know, like an inch or something. I can't remember how many times you could wrap around the earth with the number of swipes, and that was a long time ago. So we might be on our way to Mars now or something, I'm not sure.
I'll never forget the very first time I really took Tinder to a university. I landed on the SMU campus. I went into the sorority houses. And I basically got up on those tables, stood up on a chair, screamed over hundreds of girls eating dinner, and pretty much imposed Tinder onto every single phone. And then I ran as fast as I could with my, fun, enthusiastic girlfriends, 2 or 3 of them, and we went into the frat houses, and we had already put the women on the app, right? So we went into the frat houses and we said, guys, attention, listen up. It's really hard to get that attention during feeding time, right, at the frat house, because this is the chapter meeting, so it's dinner time. And we basically said, every Kappa, every Pi Phi, every Theta, they're on this app and they're waiting for you to match with them. Download it, download it, download it.
Plainfield is exactly how it sounds. Just like a lot of plain fields. It was very hard growing up here as like a Black girl because it's like such a predominantly white town and it's such a small town. Like me and my sister were probably 2 of the only ones when we first started going to public school in Plainfield. I was like boy crazy in high school, but none of them, they were all intimidated by me. I really thought I would never actually date ever. I probably used every dating app ever made except for Grindr, and that's because I'm straight. I remember when I was 21, I was bored one summer and I wanted to try OkCupid because I lived at home, didn't have a car. I was like, hell else am I supposed to do? Oh, might as well just work a dating app. It'll be fun.
Hold on, what was your name again?
Everybody. I'm not telling you my name.
It's the best name. You have to say
fine.
it. She told me this forever ago. And
my name was Miss Berry on there. Yeah, because it was right when I cut my hair. And I was feeling myself. I had somebody send me a 14-page message of just vulgarity. I can't even say what was said on there. I don't remember, but it's something about farting down somebody's throat.
I feel like on dating sites, it gets overly sexualized sometimes just because people automatically just want to have sex with you.
All the guys on there, they're not looking for shit but hookups. And quick that night hookups. If they want to schedule a date, it's probably that night and they're probably gonna try to have sex with you that night.
Here's how you get treated as a black woman when you're on a dating site. Either they don't want to fuck with you because you're black. I don't know why that freaks so many people out. Or you're so exotic because you're black. I've never fucked a black girl before. Yeah. You know, like they never seen a black woman before.
They say no blacks, no fats, no like, it's just like that. Like, it's exactly like that. If you're tubby, they be like,
a whole different side
no
of
fat women, no blacks, no Latinos, only white,
no Asians,
only 18 to 25.
I feel like I can't be myself, or I don't want to like let them into like who I really am because I don't trust them. And like, I just don't want to get like, I don't want my emotions like played with and crushed. So it's better to keep it out of it because they're not worth it unless they are.
I think that guys are way more harsh than they've ever been before. I think they deserve perfect 10s, and they're not even, they are not even a 10 themselves. That's what I'm saying. And that's what's really messed up.
Well, women are like that too.
No, not nearly as much.
Women,
I feel like they're like more critical, and it gives them unrealistic expectations.
Their nails are usually
because you got the bombshell bra on, face full of makeup, the weave or the wigs or some shit. Yeah, and when all that comes off, then once they see the natural you, then they're not even attracted to you anymore.
I feel like for guys, like social media, the dating sites like Tinder and OkCupid, it's like a catalog for them because you have all these girls, hundreds of millions of girls. You have all different pictures to choose from. Like they can just go through possibilities.
So I went on Tinder about a year ago, and it became like an easy thing. I'm just like, oh, I'll lay in bed, I'll wake up, and it's like a little mini adrenaline rush every time you do it. A common symptom with a lot of the girls I went on dates with was I was the rebound guy. So if I went on a date, it would come out to like a couple weeks later where they would either ghost me or they would just be like, oh, well, this happened, and I'm in love with that guy, and I just broke up with my boyfriend. And then once that happened, then they would go away. So after that, I kind of wised up to the fact that this might be like a thing. So in the course of my Tinder messaging, I might have like 20 different text messages going on. In each one of those, you kind of like keep following. And that's the thing that comes into multi-messaging because some women could do it to you or you do it to some women. I think I deleted it and then I re-downloaded it because I was feeling lonely. And that's when it kind of like that phrase, you know, when it rains, it pours. It got to the point where I might have this one friends with benefits over here, and then I would go on a date with that girl and develop another friends with benefits with that girl, and then all of a sudden it became like, this girl's Monday, that girl, wait, no, I'll switch that around, and like figuring out my schedule for all these different women. There was one bar in particular that would bring some of these women. I knew the bartender, and he'd be like, hey, is this like a date tonight? I was like, yeah. He's like, same girl. I'm like, not exactly. I would find myself walking, like bumping into people. I'm just like, right, left, right. It's like a little video game.
Gamification is turning an experience that is not a game into a game. So giving it all the elements of a game, things like points that say you have done this well. You know, like when you're playing a slot machine, the machine will tell you when you've won with ringing bells and flashing lights. And a lot of the apps we use now have elements of that built in, even when they aren't really about games.
We have some of these almost game-like elements where you almost feel like you're being rewarded. It kind of works like a slot machine where you're excited to see who the next person is, or hopefully you're even excited to see, did I get a match, and get that it's a match screen, and that's a nice little rush.
You get a match on Tinder and your screen just pops. It's this huge like visual stimulation. It's super bizarre. And that's gotta be intentional, like it feels good.
Ooh, you know.
I had several classes in college where we learned about this, from my business management courses to psych courses. I think if I remember, it's called the variable ratio or intermittent reward schedule or something like that, where it's the having unpredictable yet frequent rewards is the best way to motivate somebody to keep moving forward.
There's a very famous experiment run in the early 1970s with some white pigeons, and the pigeons learned to peck a little light, and when they pecked, they got food. And so these pigeons live in a box and they just keep pecking the light and they get food. But the experimenter had a couple of different ways of rewarding them. So some of them, every 10 pecks, they got a certain number of food pellets and then they ate. And others, every 10 pecks, sometimes they got food and sometimes they didn't. But it turns out that the pigeons that gambled, that effectively pecked but may not get a reward, they were the ones who were much more engaged, even to the point where they weren't hungry anymore. They'd peck because it was just fun to play the game. So, you know, in the same sense, these apps that give you this kind of variable feedback rather than consistent, predictable feedback, they have this built-in mechanism for being addictive in the same way that a gambling device is addictive.
There is a good example of how you can move from the pigeon to the human case, because one of the schedules which is very effective with rats or pigeons is what we call the variable ratio schedule, and that is at the heart of all gambling devices and has the same effect. The pigeon can become a pathological gambler just as a person can.
It's a match. It's like
Ooh,
jackpot.
it's a little surprise.
Yeah. Then you can do more. Then you unlock the ability to message them.
It's true.
And it feels good. Or you can go back and test your luck again.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Man, it's so weird because it really is a game.
As someone who is female-bodied, I actually don't identify as a woman or girl. I identify as non-binary. So I am trans in that way that although my body is assigned female, I identify more outside of that.
I think there's a lot of pressure when you're using it, knowing that knowing that people on there, they're like men seeking women, and then you're part of a stack of like women, and that people, like the guys that you might want to date stereotypically feminine, like gender role conforming people, and there's a lot of pressure. Oh my God, when people's profiles, when they're like I don't fuck with crazy bitches or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or
If
it's
you're not
like,
trying to fuck, swipe left. And I'm like, not trying to fuck.
We all know why we're here.
It's like, but you don't know me.
Yeah,
You know
like
I'm
trying to
here.
be like the cool, yeah, I'm kind of I'm bad. Hookup sex is bad, and for me personally, there has to be more intimacy to sex. It can't, there has to be this connection. There has to be this thing that I think is really cool about the other person, and you don't get that when you talked on Tinder for a day. They're like, oh, why don't you come over? We'll smoke, we can sit on my bed and listen to records. I'm like, okay, that's bullshit, but whatever. Okay, I know what this is. And you show up and it's uncomfortable. You kind of go in with this understanding. And I think a lot of people go into these situations kind of feeling obligated to. I know that's something that I feel a lot, where you're going over and it doesn't really matter if you're in the mood that day or not, because you're going over to have sex. And you never have enough time to establish some chemistry. You just start making out, and then you have this sex where and it's always, it's typically first encounters unless you see this person as a hookup regularly afterwards. But they don't know what you like, you don't know what they like. They're doing something and you're like, that's kind of weird. And I'm sure I do the same thing for them. And yeah. Yeah.
The dating apps, how they play into the sexual compulsive behavior and the sex addiction is because of the accessibility of so many partners at any given moment. I think compulsive behavior is really about the high, not about a pleasure. It's two different things, isn't it? With pleasure, it really, you kind of need to connect with yourself and to be connected and present with yourself. And it really involves real connection on some level with yourself and another.
I've
always been clear with what I've wanted on those dating apps, and I've gotten what I've wanted. And again, I feel like that's made me a stronger person, being able to say, this is what I want, this is what I don't. For the most part, people have extremely respected what I've told them. And maybe that's because a lot of the time I was saying, I want casual sex. and guys were like, yeah, I'm okay with that. But I don't know, if you know, if you're not clear with what you want, you're not gonna get what you want, I think.
It's not good to generalize, but we do see in the data differences in the way that men and women use these services, in the way of how selective they are, in the way that they reflect their intentions for what they're looking for. It's just true that men and women, taken as groups, think about these things differently. That doesn't mean all men are looking for a hookup. It doesn't mean all women are looking for a relationship. But on the whole, a majority of women are looking pretty much exclusively for a relationship on these services. And a majority of the men are primarily looking to hook up. And you can say that that isn't so different than just like society at large. But I do think the way that these services are designed sort of like tips the scale and culture towards hookups, and sort of gives men, or gives those looking for hookups, the upper hand, essentially, in this new world.
And at 4 a.m., I got a text message that went something like, hey you, wake up, time to come sit on my face now.
Are you looking for me? I'm looking for someone. Where can you be?
Hi, I'm Maurice. I'm an executive by day and a wild man by night.
I'm looking for the goddess. Are you the goddess? Who is the goddess? The goddess is the woman, is a woman, is any woman.
What I'm not looking for is some big, overgrown monster that's always thinking about food.
A figure that is sexy, slim, tight, excellent legs.
If you think of courtship as something that has always existed, what's really new about dating is that it takes courtship away from private spaces, sort of away from the home, away from family, and explicitly puts it in market spaces. So it puts it in places where people spend money and consume. And I would argue that, in a way, maybe is the most distinctive change. And that means that from 1900 onward, or from the invention of dating onward, dating is shaped by market dynamics. To me, the real turning point or watershed is when you start having mobile dating apps so that everyone has it on their phones. The effect of mobile dating apps is to feel like we can be dating all the time, and that you should always be putting yourself out there, always kind of promoting your product.
And I think that also takes away from the ability to just relax and enjoy. Because it's hard work, that self-presentation stuff, which we all have to do when we're using dating apps and online dating. It's all self-presentation, it's all self-work, it's all self-consciousness, it's all performing. And when you go on lots of dates, you have to do that again and again and again and again.
I usually delete it after I've been on like a few bad dates, or I'm just like sick of constantly getting messages from people. I'm like, I'm over like weeding through all of this bullshit that I get, like those hundreds of messages a day. I'm like, this is exhausting. This is taking a lot of effort. It's taking a lot of time. This is actually like work right now.
Just in like economic terms, if you have a surplus of options, then the value goes down. I could see a Tinder profile that I'm like excited about. If I met that person in real life, I would have this like sense of urgency. But I think on Tinder, if I see that profile, well, then I just swipe one way or another. I'm just swiping, and then there's somebody else immediately.
You know, it is this application of the logic of consumer capitalism to private life, and this sort of way that romantic and sexual desire are used almost as like a lure to get you to keep consuming. Maybe we don't think of it as part of the economy because a lot of apps are free, but what you're doing when you swipe and swipe, you know, swipe up and super like, or whatever it is you are providing valuable data to IAC in that case, or to whatever corporation owns the app in question.
The quicker that you can go from A to B, the more people are going to use that service. And that's how they make money. So if they can help you get laid quicker by you paying for some feature that allows you to engage with someone more or faster with a better emoji, whatever, that's how they're going to make money. And so the thing that's so frustrating is when you hear these dating apps talk about, well, all these people have gotten married on our app. It's like, no, that's not why you're doing this.
I get inundated like every day with people thanking us for getting married on Tinder or meeting their best friend or whatnot, and that's a beautiful thing.
Do you have data on how many people who've met on Tinder have gotten married or been in committed relationships?
We do not have that information available, but I can tell you that I am inundated with emails on a daily basis, as are multiple members of the customer service team, the PR team, from people who said, I met my best friend on Tinder. I met somebody who I am dating and now living with. I met a man who I'm going to marry. I met this guy 2 years ago. We married a year ago and we're having a baby. It's incredible, the number of people who've met via Tinder.
Some people do use it to have more casual relationships. I mean, it is used that way as well.
Certainly, people meet people at church or meet people at their schools, and they have casual relationships with them as well. It's meeting, you can meet somebody in any context and have a casual relationship with them.
That's why they can't get a relationship. We're finding out. We're helping y'all. But you know what? This old man, he told me, he said, the fruit on the top of the tree is the best, freshest fruit. He said, you always want to have to reach to get what you want. He said, the fruit at your foot on the ground, you don't want that. The fruit that's throwing itself at you, leave it alone. Am I telling the truth? Hello?
I think people, older people, like their 50s and 40s, they don't really get what it means to date now. And they kind of don't understand. Like, of course, we want to, like, get married and have kids and stuff, but it's not that easy. You can't get yourself pregnant and marry yourself.
I don't know what your problem is, because I never had a problem with that.
We didn't have social media.
Right. And we had to go out. We had to meet people. We went to games, parties, and... You know, guys wanted to date you. They wasn't like, oh, I want to date you, and you. I think the social media is an issue because, like, when I was coming up, you had to actually get out to socialize in person. Where here you can go on Facebook and the Snapchat or whatever that is, Twitter. And so I see a lot of their interactions is through devices as opposed to social interacting. You go to museums. Do you go to classic places?
I got a club, so.
I know everybody here met their boyfriend at a bar or club.
He's not my boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend.
But we've been dating for 3 years.
Wait,
so you're not in a committed relationship?
We're in a situationship, yeah. But like,
what does that mean?
A situationship is pretty much when like people are together and they've, I don't want to say committed. They're sleeping with each other only, I guess you could say. They're sleeping with each other and acting like they're dating each other, but they're not boyfriend and girlfriend. They're not dating. And that's a situationship. To me, that's friends with benefits.
I didn't ask him to make me his girlfriend. What if I didn't want him to be my boyfriend?
But wouldn't it be a commitment if you guys are exclusive?
We're still like, I feel like as a young woman, I'm still trying to like get my money. Like I'm going to go back to grad school.
You don't want to be tied down?
It's not about being tied down. It's about still having one.
Not exclusive.
I didn't say we were exclusive.
But you say you're not committed, but you're not sleeping with someone else.
Yeah, we're monogamous. Like we're not.
But don't that mean commitment?
Guys say that a lot. They want girls with benefits or situationships or whatever, and they don't want committed relationships. A lot of girls want committed relationships. I want a boyfriend. I don't want a fuck buddy.
Yeah, me either. I don't want a sister relationship either, or whatever the hell it is. I don't want that either. I want, if I'm gonna be seeing a man, and especially if I'm gonna be having sex with them, I at least want to be the title of a girlfriend. We're just gonna be single forever.
I believe in you. Surrender.
There's no place else.
So dating is changing because of a dating app, but dating is also changing because of the internet. I have a friend that once said to me, the entire internet is a dating app because, you know, there are things that you do if you're interested in someone. If you like someone on Twitter, you can't, you know, swipe right on them, but you can start hearting all their tweets or replying to them or, you know, whatever it is, sharing their articles that they like. And these are things that happen on every single platform.
If you don't know the person and they're liking all your stuff, they want to fuck.
How to bag a man on social media, 101.
So you find a guy on social media, you show him to all your girls approve, say he's cute. So you go through, you like some of his pictures, but you have to be very smart about which pictures you like though. Then it has to be spaced out at like a good increment.
Do your research, make sure he doesn't have a girlfriend.
Yes.
Tagged photos, always go through his tag photos.
Tag photos let you know everything about somebody. That's the real truth about someone. Who he's around, what he really gets into, things like that. So after that, you follow him. So you let that go by, he'll usually follow you back, because I mean, we're all bad as fuck, so most people follow us back, and then that's when the game really starts. So that's when you play like this mind game with each other, and you're like, for a few days, you're liking each other's pictures, doing these little comments and things like that, and heart eyes, and like, you do the little eye
Cute
emojis.
There's 2 different eye emojis. There's like the small ones, and there's like the individual eye emojis.
And then, by like day 5, maybe less, you wake up, and he's in your DMs.
He DM'd you, yes.
And at that point, you start chit-chatting, and it's like, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. Then you get the number. So you start texting, boom, boom, boom. There's always a move in New York. I'm gonna see you at this move. You link up at the move. Boom.
Catch the twerk real quick.
And then that's that.
And then it is. Men in New York stress me out so much. They stress me out. This is why I don't have a boyfriend. Guys will have one girlfriend per network. Yep. I'll see a dude all over one girl's Instagram, a different girl all over Twitter, a different girl over Facebook, have a different bitch on Snapchat. Yes. Yes.
Then it goes into your deep, dark secrets. Like back to high school. She looks you up.
Because they always use the excuse of, oh, but that's not my girl. Oh, I'm not sleeping with her. Oh, we don't even talk like that. And the thing is, you never really know. You never know. He could have her number saved under Papa John's.
How to catch your man cheating.
A savvy cheater may be using less obvious ways to communicate with the person they're cheating with. For example, Instagram messages, Twitter direct messages, or snaps on Snapchat.
You can't trust anyone these days. It's sad but true. I like bagged this one dude at this function, and then like he kept messaging me on Snapchat, like, come to Queens, or I'm trying to see you, or blah, blah, blah. But I found his Instagram. I was on it that evening. I found it in like 15 minutes. And he has a whole ass girlfriend. And then there was another occasion with a dude that I was actually like talking to and hooking up with who had an entire relationship as well. And I didn't know until I went through his tagged photos on Instagram. And this is one recurring thing that I've dealt with for the last 3 years. You have type 1, the dude who literally has his girl in like half of his photos and is like, my girl is my everything. I love this woman, very passionate, romantic. And he'll be the first one in your DMs begging you to come to his house at an ungodly hour, trying to smoke you out, buy you drinks, have sex with you with his girlfriend stuff all over his apartment, but he's so in love with her on social media. It's like my first time really getting my heart broken. Like, it's all coming back. Cause like, it happened for the first time like last year. When it first happened, I was like the most I cried ever. But like, I'd never felt that low in my entire life, ever. I feel like he treated me like I was an object almost. This doesn't sound so lame. It reminded me of like Nora from A Doll's House. Like, I was this trophy girlfriend with the cool clothes and a lot of followers on Instagram. And I was a trendy DJ and I was just cool to be with, but I don't think he genuinely, really, really wanted me.
When I was a kid, like, Sharon Stone, in 1995 would be just like up on a pedestal and so inaccessible to me. And now the current version of that is like, okay, she's just a swipe away, or she's just a message away.
So Instagram is full of beautiful women, pretty girls, poppin' celebrities, and a lot of you guys are like, hey, let me shoot my shot, but don't know how to do it.
Rise and shine, you cock knobs. I'm teaching you how to slide into DMs, which just means directly messaging someone, trying to get their phone number and or trying to get their genitals smashed up against yours after a couple of drinks.
Historically, men who did have a lot of sexual access to women tended to be higher in status.
What you have is what I call Clark Kent syndrome. You have these guys who may be mild-mannered in real life, but doesn't everybody want to be Superman? And this culture allows these guys who may their whole lives feel insignificant, and you know, certainly I'm not saying all of them feel this way, to feel powerful. And what's the most powerful situation is being aggressive, especially sexually aggressive.
I just got a dick pic the other night from like my friend's baby's daddy.
Exactly. Any guy will send you any stupid shit on there. That's what I'm saying.
When you get a dick pic that like you are not requesting, honestly, it's like a violation.
Like if I'm refusing to see your penis in real life, I don't want to see it in a digital version.
Yeah. We're about to see.
Is it still on?
He's like hitting me with dicks. Smacking you with dicks.
So enter Bumble. What is Bumble, and how does it strive to actually tackle this broken system of heteronormativity? Well, if you think about the way in which men and women generally connect, or the way that they're raised to connect, starting at a very young age, boys are taught to be the aggressor, go get her. Bumble looks at that dynamic and says, you know what? Only women are gonna make the first move. And why? Why are we gonna do that? Because women can have a voice. They are allowed to make the first move. They are allowed to go after what they want. And in turn, it takes all this pressure and this insecure, reactive, aggression away from the masculine side, because now the woman reaches out. You've just solved half of this predisposed problem. He doesn't have to be geared up to react to the rejection, right? So you've taken away the rejection and you've replaced it with flattery.
So there's this idea that Bumble somehow fixes the mistakes that Tinder has made. I honestly don't see how it does that. Now the rule is, the man doesn't have to lift a finger to even type you out a 3-word message because he's not allowed to. So once again, like, women are shouldering so much more of the burdens of dating, the communication work, the emotions work, all that stuff, the admin. Bumble is just codifying that women have to do more work.
No. Okay, yeah. There you go, there's the match. I said I'm only in Brooklyn for 12 hours. If you wanted to meet up, then let's do this. And then he says, are you trans? Are you trans? Then I say, what the fuck? LOL. I'm down to fuck, but can't tonight. Meet me Tuesday or Wednesday in Manhattan. So, that's a Bumble for you. That is Bumble for you. Yeah.
So this is my girlfriend, Alex. And I met her on Tinder. And her tagline was stoned in the bath eating clementines.
Steve!
Hook, line, and sinker, fell for it.
He was sleeping with 5 girls a week on Tinder.
And then what?
And then he met me.
I mean, in our case, it just kind of happened. And like, the more time we spent together, I was like, man, I'm like, this chick is really cool. And it kind of just materialized. And I'm like, well, now I really like hanging out with her more, and like in that best friend kind of quality, rather than just like the hit it and quit it or
hit it and quit it.
So given that, we have discussed, because Alex is what I guess you can define as heteroflexible. So given that, we have been experimenting with having a third, just so it feels like there's not some sort of restraint or constriction on the relationship.
Also, it's fun because then we get to play with Tinder again.
So you guys swipe together now on Tinder?
Yeah, we have
on
a joint.
On Tinder and on OkCupid. We have a joint OkCupid account. Oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, well, maybe not.
Which works out. Homegirl has too many tattoos.
Homegirl has too many cats.
Weird eyebrows.
She's like my type, but not your type.
No, I would do her.
We like big boobs.
If you look at our previous generation or the generation before, it's like you meet someone in your hometown, you date them, they're like your high school sweetheart, you date them, and that's the only person that you've really been with. And that kind of monogamy is super scary. It can go on for 60 years in a vanilla type of existence, and it's super bland, and then you die. So praising the whole swiping fad that's going on now is it introduces you to people that you may never have crossed paths with.
Could we see each other doing this forever? I don't know.
I mean, definitely not past 60.
Not past 60. I mean, I was thinking like not past. I'm 27, so not past 30.
Oh, okay.
One thing we do know is that with the rise of the internet, many people that previously had a hard time connecting can now find someone else. So for instance, in our data where we know that over a third of people have met someone through the internet, that number is even higher for gay men and lesbian women. And if you think about it, in many places, it might be easy enough for a gay man or a lesbian woman to meet someone to date. But in many places throughout the United States, it might not be that easy. If you're talking about a population that is a minority group, in this case a sexual minority group, you then have to find someone else that meets the same criteria, and that might be kind of hard. And on top of that, in many places in the US, it still might not be all that safe for a gay man or a lesbian woman to walk into a bar and try and pick someone up. So the internet has allowed people of so many different walks of life to find each other, to connect with each other, and possibly start dating and have a relationship.
We met on Grindr when he first moved here.
Explain Grindr.
Grindr is a gay dating app, mostly used for sex.
It's a grid of pictures of guys in your area ranked by how close they are and lots of torsos.
I don't know, whenever you told straight people about Grindr 2 years ago, I mean, they were like, wow, crazy. Like, do you do that all the time? You're like, no, but it is a thing because it's harder for us to meet
I don't
people.
know, it's so funny because men that label themselves as straight and then they just put like a headless torso and they're like, oh, I'm on the DL, but I'm like, are you really if you're on this app?
And then there's people on Grindr who are like anon, like they don't show their face, they don't want to know a name, they just want, like you'll get those messages that are like, depending on if you're the top or the bottom. It's like, you can just walk in and I'll be like blindfolded on all fours and you just fuck me and then leave.
I had a couple of friends who would get just almost zombified, looking at the phone or checking for a hookup or trying to make something happen, even when we were all out together. So it started to change the gay clubs because we'd all be there and half the people were just looking at their phone. And you thought, well, but we're all already at the dance, you know?
I think Grindr is a new way of hiding, honestly, because it's like people are still hooking up all the time, but now they're like doing it like they're sneaking into, you know, your apartment building or whatever. It's like this kind of respectability politics almost. It's not like people, yeah.
They think we're like, we don't have to cruise anymore, so we shouldn't because we can just go on Grindr. Why would you want to cruise when you can go on Grindr? It's like, well, because cruising is hot. It's fun. It's part of our history. It's part of our culture, and it's.
I feel like it's really popular to still like stigmatize Grindr and everything, and being like only like nasty people use that. Like I would never do it, but then they go home and then they use it, and it's like that's what they do. That's how they get laid.
The profile says like, I hate this app.
Knowing that there's that technology there, like if I see a cute guy in the bar, I'm gonna immediately get on like Grindr or Scruff and be like, well, is he on it? Because I can just like say hi there, or like just woof at him there, and then maybe he'll check it and see me across the bar.
I know everything changes and I'm acceptable to change, but there's parts of it that are like, oh, it's the future, and there's part of it, it's like, that's ridiculous. Like the amount of times I've lost with my friends just because they're on their cell phone the entire time. And I can't tell you how many dates I've been on with girls that are on their cell phone the entire time. I've been on a date with a girl, she was talking to this dude she was kind of stringing along while we were going on our first couple dates. Because I've met girls that they're so involved with what they look like on the internet, or like spend so much time on making this image of themselves, and they worry about more internet shit than like real life.
So it would be tidy space, tidy mind, or whatever they say, you know, like tidy area, tidy mind. No, tidy space, tidy mind. You know the one I mean. Basically, if your surroundings are tidy and neat and cleared out and all nice and clean, I find that I just operate better because I'm not thinking like,
I thought
thought about that when I like hook up with people. I'm just like, do I look sexy right now? I'm like, do I look like appealing? Do I look good? Does my face look weird from their angle? Does like is my hair like cascading out right behind me? Like all this stuff, and I'm just like, this is. And because of that, obviously, I just get like super removed from the moment, which is probably a big reason why I don't enjoy like doing sexual stuff with people, because I'm so caught up in how I look, and then I'm also caught up in how they look.
Alex, the guy that I just started dating, I guess that's so weird to say out loud. He left his leftovers in my fridge, so I'm here to drop them off. I do love the emoji where it looks like you're smiling with all your teeth. I send that one a lot. I've sent him that a couple times. To some people that I love, I'll just send like a row of emojis that's like a sunflower and a bouquet of flowers and then a star and a sparkly thing and then a pink heart and then a yellow heart and then a blue heart, and then they know exactly what I'm saying. So it's great. Hello. How are you? Good. This is yours?
Oh, thank
you. You're so welcome. How are you?
I'm
Good
doing
to see
well.
you too. Oh. How was your shift?
Really slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope this isn't terrible now.
Yeah, I hope so too, but it's okay if it's wilted and gross. I might throw it away though.
That's okay. He sent me a text with a heart emoji and then a smiley face and then another heart emoji, which like, it was just really cute because that never happens because for some reason boys don't like to use emojis. See? I'm telling you, like full hearts, not hard eyes. Wild, right? What a concept.
I feel like that's been a big switch too. Like I feel like back in like the 90s and the 80s, it was all about like who could kind of show more. Like back then you have people like serenading people, like showing up outside of windows with boom boxes, or like bringing people flowers, like huge ridiculous things of flowers like out in public. I feel like it's definitely way not like casual, but way more like nonchalant nowadays. Like it's almost like you don't want to seem like you care.
What if you do care?
And you have to not show it. Like that sucks. Like if you do really care, but you're like trying to not show it, I feel like that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I've never experienced something where I care so bad that I have to hide my care.
Definitely with technology progressing more and more, it's kind of like that awkward stage in generations where it's like, do you just do technology to meet people, or do you actually go out and have experiences? And it's kind of at the point where it's like, all right, you know, let's slide in those DMs, or let's hit up Tinder or something, but it's kind of like not as real, you know what I mean?
What's a tinderella?
It's like a Cinderella, but with a Tinder.
It's a slut.
Yeah.
She's a Tinder slut.
Yeah.
She's a Tinder slut.
Yeah, she has acts with men through Tinder.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a
And
Tinder
it's like,
whore.
yeah, basically, well put.
Who wants to slap the fucking bag? Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
4, 5, 6, 7.
But last night I went to a party, met a couple girls, you know, hooked up with a couple girls, and then I now have their Instagram, you know, and that's a way to keep in touch. It's not like a way to like, I don't know, force like anything on someone. You're not gonna be like, you know, like, let me get your number. I'm texting you constantly to stay connected.
You hooked up with a couple of girls at the same party?
No, oh yeah, at the same party. Not the party we were at last night with you.
We went to a different party.
Yeah.
I hooked up with 2 girls at the same party. It's wild.
Do you guys watch a lot of porn?
He watches porn, he watches porn, he watches porn, he watches porn. I don't watch porn.
Porn feeds into all of it.
I don't blame
porn
anything.
feeds into sexual expectation.
No.
And the reason why I'm
does.
blaming porn is because the internet has become such an integral part of just existing on this planet, and we've had internet access as very young children. Because
Porn has been cultivated. I was exposed to porn before the internet.
I'm about to say,
Porn opens your mind up to
I'm about to
like
say,
new
porn
experiences.
teaches you
Because
things.
porn can teach you, because even though some things you might feel like it's wrong, I think the older you get, the more sex you have. Some of the shit that you like in porn, like choking and getting choked,
is real. It's not just a
Some girls like that
fantasy.
shit.
It's like serious.
But I mean, as far as like sexual expectations though, I feel like porn makes a lot of guys particularly, like, they don't know the female body at all. They don't understand how to make a woman orgasm.
I think it's
and they look more at like porn, because when you watch like usual porn, it's like the girl's usually getting gagged or something, or like, you know, it's all about choked out. It's all about the male's pleasure. You don't really see anything with the female unless it's like lesbian porn.
Yeah.
What really shocked me about internet pornography the first time I saw it was the fact that the pornographers consistently framed these regular old vanilla sex acts that everybody does sometimes as a form of humiliation for the women involved. It's not about their orgasm, except as, you know, it's sexy that it happens to always be a function of the male ejaculation or the male pounding or whatever.
In every mainstream porn gallery on the web, we can find the rape category, side by side with the humiliation category, abuse category, crying category, and so on.
With porn, people get flooded with images. Then when they do meet people on the apps, they expect the same kind of interaction. And in fact, they're not really having sex with the person in front of them. Very often they might have sex playing out the images in their head.
Like ejaculating on a woman's face is not a naturally like thrilling, attractive thing to do until you see it in pornography and you're like, that looks awesome, I'm gonna do that.
Like, guys get addicted to it and girls get addicted to it, and it's fucking insane. And like, I have this one friend back home who's like, he's like, yeah, like, I can't finish unless I watch porn.
What?
Yeah, like he'll be fucking a girl and then he's like, I have to like jack off or something to finish.
He has something wrong with him.
So it's like, it's
Sounds
just,
like he watches way too much.
yeah, he watches way too much porn. And it's just like, desensitizes for sure.
There are guys my age suffering from ED because when they have a sexual relationship with a girl, they can't perform because their mind is so skewed already by porn.
It's an epidemic.
What do you mean?
Men who, when they put a condom on, they lose their erection right away. And then they try to use that to weasel out of wearing a condom. You know, they're like, oh, like, come on, like, you don't need it. I just got tested. And I'm like, no, you didn't. I know you didn't just get tested. I'd say the condom problem is because of porn, because I feel like men are really used to like their rough hand or something. And then like, they're like, oh, I'm not sensitive with a condom. And like, I can't feel you. I'm like,
It's not even just porn. It's the appropriation of porn in culture. Because sex sells. Sex is everywhere. You go to billboards, there's a bitch in a bra and basically nothing else.
Alright guys, I'm gonna be 100% real with you guys about the best pictures that us guys like to get from girls. Because a lot of the YouTubers and people be like, the best curve on a woman's body is her smile. You know damn well the best curve on a woman's body is that ass.
It's gonna look like that. Okay. And then you shoot it. So she's pointing it down. I'm pointing it down so the angle comes from the bottom.
Kim Kardashian goes naked, Kourtney Kardashian shows off her nipple, and Kylie Jenner gets in the mix too. What the hell is going on here?
One thing we're seeing an increase in, for instance, is sexting. People are exchanging sexual messages and images via text, via email, and sometimes via particular apps.
I would say that nudes don't have to be pornography, but the way they generally exist and are treated, they are pornography by my definition. They're sexualized representations that circulate, and the circulation is key because the problem with the way they're circulated is that tends to eroticize use, to eroticize just using somebody else's body for your own gratification.
If it's in the right context, I really do like getting a dick pic. It can be really great, but you have to be in the mood and you have to want it, and there should be like a lead up to it. Because if you just get a dick pic cold, it's like, I wasn't around. What did it for you?
I think that if you're already fucking, like, sending a nude throughout the day is just kind of like, A, thinking of you, B, reminding you how good that sex was the other day. Because, like, you know, sometimes if it's been like 2 days, you're just like, yo, refresher course, like, this was great, huh?
Like,
we can imagine that there are so many people with long-distance relationships, or perhaps they're busy with work and don't see each other enough, or perhaps they just want to communicate, hey, I'm turned on by you, I'm thinking about you. And sexting for them can be perhaps a totally fine, totally healthy way to communicate and share these erotic images. But there is an inherent risk. And in fact, that risk can also build intimacy, knowing that you're exposing yourself to someone, or maybe not a good use of words.
Nowadays, the fact that guys think it's so cool to expose girls, it makes it so hard for you to even feel like a guy that you're messing with can have a picture of you naked, because if you guys ever stop talking to each other, it's like, is he gonna put me on Twitter? Is he gonna put it on Instagram?
But I got my phone taken away because I sent a picture to a guy in my bra and underwear in 8th grade. I remember that. He asked me for a picture, and I sent him a picture of my face. Then he was like, no, not that type of picture. They always say that. And then you're like, what kind of picture you want? And he's like, just less clothes. And I'm just like, I don't know. And he was showing everybody, you're young and you want to be cool and you don't want the person to the next day say something about you, like you're a kid or something like that.
What often is called revenge porn, which we could just say is the non-consensual distribution of sexual imagery, right, is when people violate often people's trust and confidence and then post, nude images of someone without their consent, and often knowingly in violation of their privacy. And when it appears online or on Twitter, when it appears in any online network spaces and is shared, it will then often appear in a search of someone's name, right? Which, when you search someone, who's searching for you? Clients, employers, friends, people you care about. And that's where the harm comes in, like the potential for economic, physical, and sort of emotional harm.
So I was using a dating app when I met this guy. I'd gone on a few dates with him, but I hadn't gone home with him and slept with him basically. And it didn't seem to be an issue for me. I didn't think it was awkward, but he seemed to think it was a thing. I found this website, and it was on his blog. It was like a blog entry, like a whole page dedicated to me and how much I sucked, basically. And he had gone through the last 10 years of my social media on Facebook, Instagram, all these outlets, and taken the worst photos of me that exist.
It's quite common for people to set up a site, often in the victim's or the targeted person's name, that says, for example, don't hire so-and-so, or so-and-so is a crackhead, right? That would be the name off the domain name of the site, right? And that what you do on that site is essentially do whatever you can to hurt the reputation and to terrify the person.
And he made this huge mosaic of it was at least 20 photos, maybe 30 or more. It was a lot of photos of just all these up close terrible shots of me drinking, parties when I'm 17, 18 or whatever, and just looking awful, And it was so embarrassing, and I was like, fuck, what is this? And then he posted under it a story that was completely made up and shit, and that said, I think it said that Nicole smoked crack and all this stuff, and it was crack specifically, and I was like, that's outrageous and weird. So I tried contacting the web host or whatever who hosts the domain, and they never got back to me. And then I contacted Instagram and Facebook to be this guy's using my photos without my permission, and I never heard from any of them. And then it was the dating app that I contacted, and they said to call the police because they couldn't do anything.
You've got officers who are great at street crimes. It's what they know well. But when you come to them with a problem that involves having to investigate sort of your online footprints and who it is that did this, they just feel outpaced by the technology. They don't know what to do.
I thought that it might be a good opportunity for one of those companies to sort of come to the rescue in a way and be look, we protect our users, especially the dating app. I thought that they would maybe have a better reaction than very just sort of, I don't know, it's not our issue, I guess.
The ethical implications of what we're doing are always weighing upon us. It's everything from bullying to just inappropriate behavior. And it's something that almost every conversation we have around here is about how we can help that. It's included with every new thing that we come up with is making sure that we create a safe and comfortable environment for our users. There's a lot more that we could do, just like every platform. And we're working on all sorts of things. Don't know all the ways we're going to do that, but collectively, we'll figure something out, I'm sure. We better. We have to.
Have you ever heard from anybody who's had something bad happen?
Directly, I've not. Nobody's personally come to me with it, but there's certainly been a few different news stories and all that have occurred. I don't know any specifically.
There are stories from 100 years ago of women being murdered when meeting a man that advertised in the Lonely Hearts section of the newspaper. Luckily, these are not everyday stories, but they do underscore the huge risks involved. And moreover, they do kind of ask us to think more deeply about why it is that when a woman is murdered, it is likely to be by someone who she's in a sort of intimate situation with. So we do need to get beyond just blaming dating apps. We need to also think about what's going on more deeply in society, that for all the gains women have made, the domestic violence figures speak for themselves, murder figures speak for themselves. Women are still being murdered and physically abused by men on a hugely regular basis.
This dude was freaking psychotic. He drunkenly came to my house at like 5 in the morning. Mind you, I'd invited him over at probably like 11, thinking he was gonna get there by like 1 and I could kick him out around 3 because I didn't want to sleep with him at the time. It was way too early. So he comes there mad late, clearly drunk as hell. So I'm like, all right. And he took a cab there from wherever he was. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to be a bitch because you just spent all this money to get to my house and I understand you're lit and you probably just want to sleep. Like, it is what it is. I'll let you crash. He gets in my bed, literally tries to force himself on me. And I just wasn't rocking. And like, I literally had to like hold my clothes, push this nigga off me. Like, I'm not yelling because I don't want to wake my roommates up because it's like I'm not getting raped, and I think like I'm thinking eventually he's gonna kid a hen, and then he drunkenly passes out. I wait about an hour and I'm like freaking out, and then I kick him out of my apartment. And obviously, like, I kind of set myself up for it, so I'm kind of not an idiot for that. Like, I'm not like emotionally distraught over it or anything. I'm just one of those like, y'all need to do better. And I'm so glad that it didn't get worse, because there are so many scenarios where I've heard like where it has with other women. Not with him in particular, but just in general. And I just like, I know so many of my very, 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 very close female friends have experienced very negative encounters with men. And I'm just grateful that nothing on that level has happened, because it's very possible. And I pray that it never does, because I wouldn't even wish that shit on my enemies.
Like, even when I had my old boyfriend and we would do stuff, like, he always kind of like vaguely like pressured me into stuff, which like wasn't cool. So like, we'd be hanging out and we'd be watching TV, and like, I just wanted to like cuddle and watch TV, and then he would start like kissing my neck or whatever and like starting to like get on top of me, and I would like kind of pull away and be like, I just kind of want to like sit here. And then he would like put his hands up my shirt and like all this kind of stuff, and I would just like kind of try and turn away, and then it always just got to a point, he knew that I would just get to a point where I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And so like, we'd do whatever, and it was literally every single time we were alone. Every single time. I'm realizing now, looking back on it, that it was like a little bit more fucked up than I thought it was.
I see people try to justify like the rape of a spouse or the rape of a girlfriend or a boyfriend. These are themes that are embedded in our society. It's definitely something that the internet and social media is like enlightening a lot of young women to realize I'm valuable, I don't have to put up with your shit, and I also don't have to be treated like a sex object for the rest of my life. And I'm also capable of doing whatever I want, and if your politics don't correlate with mine, that's cool, but I'm gonna still do me at the end of the day.
So what if there's a dating app that was designed around how women perceive attraction? Like, what would that be different? What if you designed a dating app? What would it be like?
If I'm designing a dating app, I don't know. I feel like there's no way to get around the fact that men can just be fucking disgusting.
Absolutely.
I think it's the fact that like women have always been seen as an object of pleasure or an object of like something secondary, something inferior. Yeah, it's a vessel. So it's kind of like, and like even nowadays, it's sort of like the only reason that you exist in this space is for my viewing pleasure. I'm not saying that like everyone who does dating apps is like terrible or gross or anything, but the fact that you have to like work your way through so many people that are just like either total bullshitters or obviously only after sex and like not after anything substantial. So you're like, okay, and it just gets exhausting, so I just like, why bother?
Cheers! Papa!
What the Me Too movement has done, it's really created this huge voice in the community, and that voice is strong. And I do feel like as a woman running the largest set of dating products in the world that we have to listen to that voice and we have to adapt our products, how we work internally, our sensitivity to things, and especially, you know, as we are creating social products that sit in the hands of women. And this is a time where, you know, I do think it's important for us to both protect, listen, and create products that are relevant to women.
And how are you going to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things that we need to do. One, we have safety tips. First of all, it's really important that women don't meet people. They never go to someone's house. They meet in a public place. They don't drink. They let someone know where they're going. They take precaution. They let a person know that they're on a date with someone else. They never go into someone's car. So there's a number of safety tips that we provide for people, and I just think that people also have to just take real precaution.
There have been reports of a rise in sexual violence related to online dating. Do you think dating apps are contributing to rape culture?
The sad thing is that, you know, because there's so many millions and millions of people on our products, 1 out of every 2 single people have a profile on a dating app today in the United States, then it is truly what happens in society happens on the apps as well.
I don't see it slowing down. I mean, why would it slow down? It's making a lot of money for a lot of different companies and a lot of people. We're getting better at designing experiences that are addictive because we understand it more now than we ever did before. So I don't see it slowing down. I think it's only going to be weaponized. And I think when virtual and augmented reality become a really big deal, can you imagine dating apps where you can actually interact in a room with the people that you're swiping? Why wouldn't people spend 24 hours a day on these apps if they feel like they're actually in the room with other people? And if they don't like them, they can get rid of them ASAP, no problem. But if they do, you're actually that much closer to actually being on a date with them without having to do anything. You can sit in your boxer shorts at home and be on a date with someone. Why wouldn't you do that? We know there are sex robots, and we know that there are appendages that you can attach to yourself that make an experience feel like sex. And so it's just going to be a more immersive version of that over time, the virtual and augmented reality.
I don't know, we were just drifting further and further apart, and like towards the end it felt like we weren't even really like in a relationship.
I definitely became more distant. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, you used to like 4 or 5 times a day, I'd be like, I'm gonna marry you, you know that?
I could have been delusional, but
You
it
were
felt right
like-
at the time. Whatever.
He was just excited about having somebody to love. It's sweet. There's nothing wrong with that.
All I wanted to do is just say, let's be friends, but let's keep it open-ended.
He went on a date on Friday. Well, he got laid.
You've got laid too. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I have gotten laid, but I didn't get laid on Friday on my date. He met on Tinder.
You downloaded Tinder too.
Okay, yeah.
You're just as guilty.
Tinder exhausts me. I'm so, I just downloaded it so that I could judge people and, swipe. I like doing the swiping. I always have.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and then
I end up going on a date with the guy.
Well, no, he seems nice, but I wasn't planning on sleeping with him. But yeah, and then I was like, yeah, I don't know. He came back from the bathroom and I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I just want to go home. And then I just left. So, I'm not I don't know. I just wanted to, someone to talk to for an hour. But I don't know. Tinder is exhausting. I don't want to.
Nothing good happens from Tinder.
Yeah. Well, we met on Tinder.